while they're not speaking. I really appreciate that. Make sure that we've got no other background sound. That was perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah, just a bit about us, CompuCourt. So we're a digital agency. We specialize in, surprise, surprise, working with CiviCRM. We've done so for well over 10 years now. And I'm really excited to show you guys, some of the things that we've been working on over the last couple of years, actually. So thank you so much for coming. I think we had about 150 people registered. So I don't know, that might be one of the biggest CiviCRM meetups or events ever, including, some of the Civi cons that we've had, where we had over 100 people in person and things like that around the world. So this is really exciting. We're also streaming live apparently on Facebook because, why? Well, actually, we will be when Marcelo comes back and if he manages to get.
Oh, it is.
Oh, it is. Okay. All right.
It is already.
We're streaming live on Facebook because, well, why not? And just so you know, the session's going to be recorded. So, feel free to, either rewatch it if you're so inclined, or share it with your colleagues or your friends, because, everybody needs to know about Civi, basically. So a big thank you to Marcelo and Itala from our team for organising everything today. So they put in a huge amount of work to get all the comms out, get everything organised and so on. So big thank you to them. And today's focus is, of course, membership. Probably one of the most complex parts of the system, but also, some of the most important, especially for our clients, in terms of, being able to either engage with donors and members, and build lasting relationships with them. So we're going to show you today why Civi is a great membership management system. I think based on some of the research that we've done, Civi does a lot more than, or it's one of the most complete membership systems that you can find these days, especially when you think about all the other things that Civi can do as well, in terms of running events and comms and looking after your contacts and so on. Hopefully this will help you guys to, to focus on, kind of building those relationships with your donors and members and doing a lot less admin. So we've got, I think it's, well, three sessions today. So my colleague Maddie is going to do an introduction to CiviCRM. So we thought it was important to show what we would call vanilla CiviCRM. So what you can do if you just installed CiviCRM and did nothing else, what can you do with CiviCRM's membership? So that's there. So pretty much everybody who's got Civi or thinking about getting Civi should have access to that. And then I'm going to talk about a project that we've been doing in CompuCorp over the last couple of years, which is to add a huge amount more functionality to membership. So we call that membership extras because it took us too long if we were going to list out all the things that are in there. And that's a freely downloadable extension. You can find it on our GitHub. And so, if you do have CiviCRM and a bit of technical nous, you can just get that one installed. And then we're going to wrap up by showing another extension that we've developed, which is a bit more UK centric, which is to support direct debits, which is kind of recurrent, the ability to kind of take money from people's bank account. There's something similar within Europe called SEPA. And I could be wrong, but I think there's something ACH, something like that. There's something like that in the US as well, where you can kind of take these payments from people's bank accounts. But I think it might be used less, but it's just bigger in the Europe and UK for membership and stuff. Yeah, so without further ado, I'll hand over to Maddie, who I think is going to kick us off with an introduction to CiviCRM's membership module.
I will just share my screen.
I need to stop sharing as well.
Oh yeah, I don't know if I just over.
Stop share. There we go. There we go.
Can everyone see a slide with CiviCRM Virtual Meetup 2021? Great. Okay, so as Jimmy mentioned, I'll just be focusing on kind of the core Civi membership module and going through some of the main functionality, some of the reporting tools, etc. that we've got. So this is today's plan. So first I'll introduce CiviMember, then I'll go through kind of membership, the background and how membership is set up in Civi. So looking at membership types, membership statuses, and then we'll take a look at the member lifecycle. And I've put together a quick demo to show you how you create a membership on a contact record and to explain some of the core fields on that form. Then we'll take a quick look at membership reports, membership kind of default contribution pages, and then membership with Drupal web forms to close off. And maybe we'll have time for a quick Q&A at the end. So first of all, as we've mentioned, it's a built-in CiviCRM component for managing memberships and subscriptions. So it should be available on any of your CiviCRM sites that you have installed. And it offers a really quite, full and comprehensive solution and support to meet lots of different scenarios. So whether your memberships are free or paid for, it will support both of those. It allows you to create kind of sign-up forms so that members can sign up, kind of self-serve and sign up themselves, pick what membership type they want, etc., and also manage renewals. It allows you to, no matter which kind of membership format you have, so whether it's a joint or family membership, where someone can inherit a membership that their parents own, for example, you can inherit a membership through relationships. It can manage organizational or corporate memberships, and also just very standard individual memberships. So very thorough in that regards. It also allows you to kind of decide what start date structure you want to have. So whether it's a rolling membership or if it's a fixed start date on the 1st of January, for example, of every year. So all of that is configured through the membership type. It also allows you to set up some automated reminder emails to welcome, once the membership's set up, to welcome the new members, or a few weeks before their membership is about to expire and they should be renewing. So all of that can be done through kind of scheduled reminders or automated emails. And finally, it also allows you to set up kind of a pay later option if you want them to be able to sign up and then pay through direct debit or pay at a later stage through invoicing, for example, and it supports VAT as well. So if we look at the basic setup, these are kind of the three main fields that compose a membership. So first of all, you have the membership type. So here, for example, if we use a setup of a gold, silver, and bronze membership, you'd have each of those set up in the background, and you'd have different subscription rates for each of the different membership types. And we put techie point here, but just in terms of how you'd set that up, if you want a member to be able to have both, you probably wouldn't want them to have a gold and silver membership, but if you wanted them to have several memberships, one was for events, one was I can't think of an example on the top of my head, but if you wanted them to have 2 events, you'd have to set up one membership organization per membership type. That way, that particular user can have more than one at the same time. That's really just a side note for people who are, setting up that membership initially. The next really important field is the membership status rules. So these are the rules that allow you to differentiate whether a member is current, whether a member's expired, that they're no longer a member, whether they're in a grace period. So all of these again are kind of set up there's a few set up by default, but you can go in these, change them around, create new ones if you want. So there's a lot of flexibility there as well. And finally, the last bit to look at is price sets. So we talked about these a bit in the events room, but you can also use price sets for events to create more complex pricing models. So for example, if you have a core membership, but then you also want to allow users to add an insurance to that, or to add a magazine subscription or something like that, you can manage all of that through price sets. So next, we'll look at the membership creation screen. So I'm going to actually show you this screen through the demo, so I won't stay on this slide. This is quite an old version of Civvy, so the video I'll be showing you will be using a different theme. And one thing to flag before I move over to the demo is just, if you do choose the pay later option, as I mentioned was available, Civvy has this really useful tool that allows you to override the status. So imagine your membership or your member will pay by direct debit, but you only take direct debits every 2 months or something. You would be able to override that membership status to new to give them access to whatever the membership offers during that period. So you could say override to new for 2 months, and then the payment will be collected. So then the status will automatically be updated to new. It might make a bit more sense when we're looking at it on the screen. And you can choose whether or not to send a confirmation email, for example, and to send an invoice. And finally, I'll also show you how to, if you do set up a membership with a pending payment, so as a pending membership, I'll show you how to mark the contribution as completed, which will then change the membership status from pending to new. So we'll take a look at all this now. So here we have John Redman, our contact for who we're going to be creating a membership. And there are two ways of setting up a membership. So either on the Add Membership button here on the contact record, or from the New Membership screen. So as we're already on the contact record for this demo, I've just done it through here because it avoids me having to type in the name of the user. So here you can see, first of all, you put the name of the member and who you're creating the membership for. Then you have all the membership organizations, as I'd mentioned previously. So we have bronze, gold, and silver memberships. So here I'll go for a silver one, and then you can see that it corresponds to the silver membership type as well. I'm going to go for, so I haven't shown you the membership type screen just because we don't have that much time today, but just so you know, this membership has been set up as kind of it's a silver membership. The fee is £50 for the membership. It's a 1 year membership and it's rolling. So it means that I sign up and then I have the membership for 1 year. And you'll see all of that kind of pulling through on this screen as we go through it. So I put my, let me go back just a bit. So yeah, number of terms I put 1, which means that it's going to be a membership for 1 year. Source I'll leave blank. You can add anything here if you need to. Then there's 3 dates that you can see: the member since, the member start date, and the member expiration date. So the member since date will default to today, and that's kind of the only one that needs to be populated. The membership start date can be different to this member since date, but it always has to be after the member since date. So in this case, I'm just going to leave it as is because I am creating the membership the day that I want it to start. And hopefully the system should populate these automatically. So I'd expect the start date to be today and the end date to be the 28th of April next year. So we'll see all that once I've created the membership. So the next thing to flag is this status override, as I mentioned in the slide. So if you do want to give them another status for a short period of time for some reason, you can do that here. But in this example, there's no need to, so I'm just going to leave it as no. Here you can decide whether or not to record a payment, but as I mentioned, there is a fee of £50, so I do want to record a payment. The date received will default to the date of today, as you can see. And then the financial type, it kind of corresponds to your accounting code. So here it will be payments that go towards membership, so you'd select member dues. And one other point to make on the receive date, you can leave, if it's a pending payment, you can leave it as today, because then when you go into the system to record a payment, you'll be able to put the date that the payment was actually received. And I think it's good to align the kind of the start date and the receive date. The next 2 fields are the payment method and the payment status. So here I'm going to mark the payment as completed. So again, you can leave it as check. If they do end up paying through a bank transfer or by debit card or whatever, you can change that on the record payment screen, which we'll look at in a minute. And so the final thing to change is to mark it as pending. Here you could send a confirmation and receipt if you want to, but I won't because I'll send it when I actually record the payment. So then you'd save the membership. And here, if I just pause, you can see so the membership type is silver membership that I selected. The dates are exactly what we'd expect. And the status is pending because I didn't choose to override the status and I haven't actually paid for my membership yet. So I'll just show you how you would do that. So I jumped, the £50 will appear in the contribution tabs. In Civi language, contribution kind of means payment. So you can see here that I have £50 that are for the silver membership and the status of this is pending. So now I'll show you how we'll create record a payment for this. So you go to the record payment screen, and here again you find all the kind of core information, the contact name, the amount. I'll choose to select to send a receipt from here because I want to acknowledge the fact that we've received the payment. I'll leave the date as today, obviously, because that's when we're doing all of this. And then here, as I mentioned, even though I'd selected check on the membership creation screen, I can then change this to whichever payment was actually received. So if they're paying over the phone, I'd take their credit card details and add the last 4 digits of the card on here. And then I'd click to record the payment, and that would be it. I didn't do it because it's quite a slow screen and I didn't want to take too much time, but that will change the payment status to completed and will change the payment, the membership status to current or new, depending on your rules. So if we go back to the slides, there's a few more items that I wanted to go through. I can see a lot of questions, but hopefully we'll look at those after. So I'll just go through these last few bits. The reporting and the search functionality for membership in Civvy is really very comprehensive. There's all of these different types of reports. So obviously you can search and export any data that you need in regards to your members. That you can use all the standard reports, but there are also quite a few extra extensions like the extended reports extensions, which has reports for membership, the pivot reports, and this churn report as well. There's also a very useful dashboard, which allows you to see kind of all your membership types on the left and then the number of members corresponding to that. And at the bottom, you can also see new members who are signing up if that's useful. You can use several search screens. So obviously you can use the Find Membership screen, but you can also use the advanced search and search for members or search for contacts that have a membership, and that allows you to create smart groups for members based on their join date, based on the membership type, etc. So that's a really useful tool. And finally, the last thing I wanted to go through are kind of the sign up or renewal forms that I mentioned at the beginning. So the sign up forms here work with Drupal, WordPress, and Joomla. And through these, you can do a lot of different things. You can take a payment, an online payment. It supports invoicing or the pay later option that we saw. It supports renewal, and it can also, renewal or kind of like recurring payments. The only limitations here is that it's just kind of one page form. You can't design it or play around with it too much, and you can't add as many fields as you might want to, and you can't set any conditions. So then if you're using Drupal web forms, obviously it's Drupal only, but it's kind of a more advanced solution. It allows you to create multi-page forms, to add conditions, to add custom validations if you want to be able to assign a membership type based on other criteria that's been given to you in the form, so the user doesn't have to do that themselves. All of that you can do through web form. And obviously it offers slightly better layout, and you can allow the user to select the start and end date if they want to. And I think that's everything. I went through quite a lot quite quickly. So if there are any questions, I think we can take a few minutes to respond to them. So I haven't been...
Well, actually, Maddie, people have been asking questions in the chat, and I think different people have been responding anyway, as we go. So I think that's
the questions at the end, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. If we want to, and I think just keep popping your questions in the chat if as you have them, see if we can get them kind of answered as we're going. Yeah.
So I think I'll be handing over to Jamie to talk about the extra functionality that comes with membership extras.
Great. So can everybody see my screen? Wonderful. Yeah. That's a great when you kind of see like 20 people nodding at the same time. So we're going to talk about membership extras. Can
I ask a question before? Or is this the end?
Go ahead. We'll try and keep to time, but I might push it to the end if not. So go for it.
One reason we got confused as to timing of the input for membership. Do you always create the membership before doing any, even though it's a complete payment, before doing a contribution transaction?
Yeah, so the Civvy expects that you would create the membership with its payments at the same time. So if you've created a payment separately and then want to kind of associate it with a membership, that's a bit harder to do. I think, I could be wrong, but I think there is an extension out there that allows you to do that, but it's an extra plugin that you'd have to put on your system. So if you pop us an email, maybe after the session, I'll see if I can dig that out for you. But it lets you kind of associate a contribution with a membership. Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. Great. So we're going to talk about membership extras. So just to explain, all the functionality that you just saw that Maddie walked us through there is all out the box, what we call vanilla CiviCRM. So if you install a CiviCRM, you'll have all of that functionality there. What I'm going to talk about now is an extension that we've been developing at CompuCorp. It's completely open source, which means that it's freely available to download and use. It's available on our GitHub. I'll give you the instructions at the end. But it is additional functionality. So some of the things you see here might not be things that you would have in your installation if you've not installed it yet. Great. So yeah, maybe there's a bit of a bit of background on kind of why membership extras, other than the name. So what you saw with Civi standard membership features there is that the basic features that, or membership types that, oh, what happens? Leave site. No, I don't want to leave the site. I want to stay on the site. Thank you. So the Civi was designed to work with, you have annual memberships. So these are memberships that kind of run for a year, let's say, lifetime memberships, memberships that go on forever, monthly memberships. So, I have the membership for a month and then it renews at the end of the month and so on. But one of the things that Civi doesn't support out the box is this concept of having, let's say, an annual membership paid in installments. And that was kind of the rabbit hole that took us down, that we went down with membership extras. And that was kind of the key feature that got us all started. So the idea of being that, well, it's very often that people have a membership which is going to be for a year, but actually they're going to pay that in monthly installments. And I need to know, actually, they're on installment 5 at the moment and they've paid the first 5, but it was installment 6 that they missed. And this is a very common thing, in Europe, certainly, potentially in the US, I'm less clear on that. But as we went down that journey, there was a lot of other cool stuff that we kind of developed as well to be useful for our clients. So some of the key points are the fact that you might want to have memberships automatically renew and then generate their invoices. So that was something that you couldn't do with Civi out the box. So that's, for example, maybe you've got a corporate membership or an organizational membership. And what actually happens is, unless they tell you that they're cancelling, you renew it or it renews automatically, and you want it to send them an invoice because, that's what we want with memberships. So that's automatically renewing the memberships, and it could be individuals as well. Direct debits with high volume processing, Drupal web form sign up. So we'll talk about that in the last session in a moment. Some cool stuff around being in arrears in the status rules. So once we got into this position of having installments, what can actually happen is that people forget to pay an installment. So what you then need to do is to identify those people and to kind of change their status in order to tell you whether or not they're in arrears or they owe you money, basically. So we created some functionality in order to automatically have the system update to tell you that the status is in arrears. And actually then you can automate some communications to go off to them. So we've got one particular client where, for example, they automate the communications and they each come from someone slightly more escalated within the organization to get their point across before eventually cancelling the membership automatically. Automatically increase membership prices at renewal. So one of those big issues, it's a big manual job. You want to increase your membership prices, but you can't because actually you've set them all up in Civi and they're just going to keep renewing and renewing and renewing. We have some functionality which will actually automatically increase those membership prices at renewal, generate the new invoices and so on. And if you're doing it by direct debit, you can then just go and take your direct debits and so on. Membership upgrade and downgrade rules. So this is really cool as well. So not only can you increase the prices of your membership, but you can actually have people automatically shifted from one membership type to another membership type as well. So for example, let's say that people have a student membership, they can only hold that for 2 years, and then you want to automatically put them onto the main membership. We can set up some rules which just say, yeah, you can only hold student for 2 years, in order to do that. And it's incredibly flexible because you can set any criteria that you want. Add-ons, upgrades, downgrades mid-membership. So if you're paying an installment, somebody might pick up the phone, in month 3 and say, oh, I've seen that you guys do, as Maddie suggested, those add-ons with like, oh, I see that you guys have a magazine. I'd like to purchase into that. And so therefore you want to start charging them for the magazine on a monthly basis. So we've got support for that as well. even more cool stuff, so I couldn't fit it on one page. Calculating the number of installments for fixed membership types. If you have, so there are two types of membership in Civi. You've got rolling memberships, you've got fixed memberships. Rolling memberships mean if I sign up today, it's going to run for 1 year from today. A lot of organizations don't work like that. They align their membership period to their accounting period, for example. And let's say that your membership starts on the first day of your accounting period, maybe the 1st of January. So if somebody joins midway through the year, we should prorate the amount that they're paying. So that's point number 2, which is pro rata calculation. So it will calculate that pro rata. But if they're paying in installments, it'll even calculate the right number of installments for them as well. Omar spent a lot of time building a specially designed import tool that can import into all of this stuff. So whatever your data is, wherever you're coming from, if you can get it in a CSV format, if you get it in an Excel spreadsheet, we can get it in. And I think that's been tested up to, I think it might have been 1 million rows or something like that. So no matter how big, you know, we can get that in. And there's lots of other things. I think with this, like, you can even select the color of your membership as well now or something like that. Great. So if I can find my video, I'm going to try and demo this now. I think it's this one. And so if I can make this full screen. Great. So this is our favorite man, John Redmond. And, you know, the membership tab, we've all seen that before. So we're going to record a new membership, as we did with Maddie. And we're going to see a few more options in a moment. So we're just going to select John again here. And we've got some membership types. This was kind of the first point. So this isn't actually membership extras, but this is what Maddie was mentioning about having price sets. So by selecting a price set, what you can do is set up so that you can have this kind of like the main membership type, but then also perhaps add-ons as well. And you can make it so that people have to, let's say, have a main membership type before they can select an add-on. So here you can see that the standard membership type is required, but then you can select from any of these add-ons, you know, if you would like them. So the reason I'm showing that now is that actually what might happen is that somebody selects, let's say, the gold or silver membership and doesn't select an add-on now. Maybe you'll want to add that in the future, and we'll show you how to kind of do that. So I'll keep going through. So I clicked a thing. So I think we're going to do the silver membership here. And I think I'm going to get rid of the add-ons and, oh no, I'm just going to do, okay, yeah, we're just going to do silver. Yeah, okay, fine. So if we keep on scrolling down, so here is what we saw before, which is the contribution tab, which is where I would put in the details of the payment. So what we had before was the ability to kind of record a payment for that membership or to make it pending, which is in effect kind of saying, okay, I'm raising an invoice for this membership and I'm going to get that payment later. If you remember, Maddie showed you that you could also potentially override the status if you wanted to, because if you wanted to not, you could, by default, the membership would be pending as well because they haven't paid. But if you want to say, well, I want to give them the benefit, you know, then you can do that, you know, until you receive the payment. But actually what you can see here as well is, in a moment, when we get there, is another tab, which is called payment plan. So this is kind of where all the magic happens. So the payment plan is setting up these installments or automated renewals that you could have with the membership as well. So this is kind of some of the functionality that you get only with the membership extras. So you might not see this in your existing Civi. So here you can select the payment plan payment method, and we have direct debit. And if you do direct debit, you would then create a new mandate here. So I'm just going to run through that, which is kind of putting in the bank details and things like that. And Maddie will explain how that falls through. Yeah, I'm really sorry Randy, if it's a little bit small. So because it's been pre-recorded, this is kind of the size of it. I'm sorry for that. If I can ask people to mute if they're in the background, that's fantastic. So we just set up a mandate there. If somebody already has a mandate in the system, then you can actually select an existing one. So that would be kind of relevant. So if somebody had an existing mandate, and this is a new membership or something that you're adding on, you can select that as well. That would be available in that dropdown. You can make the payment from a different contact if you want to. So here then is that I've set up the payment schedule. You can see that by default, it went to monthly, but you can also do quarterly or you can do annual. So annual would be one payment, monthly is obviously monthly. And you can see here now that it's kind of set up each of the installment and given you all the details of that installment as well. So that's going to be, each one's going to be an individual contribution. So we've got quarterly. If you do annual, it'll give you just the one, and quarterly and monthly. Great. And if you want to click on the drop down there, what it actually does is it'll give you each of the line items. So if you were purchasing a membership and an add-on, you can see how it's done its calculations, and you can see how much each of the lines is going to cost, how much each month is kind of made up of. And let that just all go through. Cool. And there you can just see above it is that you can opt people out of the automatic update of the pricing update. So if you are setting, what the system will do is when they renew, it will grab the latest price for the membership. But if you want to keep them on the old price, you just tick that box and it keeps them on the old price. So I'm going to click save. A load of code is going to do a lot of calculations now. Thanks to Omar, Ahead, and Dome. And here what we can see is that, again, as we expected before, Civvy set up a membership record for us. So we've got member since, we've got the start date, we've got the end date. And you can see that it's also going to auto renew as well. So we've got the tick box there. So we know that Civvy's going to auto renew this one. Let it run through. Yeah, it's kind of said 20th of April when we recorded this video. The end date, the status is new. That's great. And auto renew. Cool. And contributions, right. So what we've seen though is that Civvy set up all of those 12 installments. So it set all the 12 installments that we were expecting. So we've got the first one and coming up very soon. And then the rest of the installments in there as well. So if we take a look at one of these installments, you can see that we can record the payment if we want to. And if we record the payment, you can do that manually, or we can email out those installments, kind of for people so that they get the invoices. So now, if we take a look at the recurring contribution, so this is, a little bit where the magic happens. So this is the payment plan. This is where all the details about what Civvy needs to know in order to renew this membership is all kind of contained here. So we can see the amount, the frequency, so it's going out every 1 month, the start date, the number of installments, and the payment processor to use. Now with Membership Extras, you also get this extra screen, which allows you to manage these installments. And so this is a bit clever. Before, this person at the moment just has an individual annual rolling membership silver for 1 year. And we can see the start date, the end date. We want that to renew automatically. There's tax on it, etc., and the amount, and that's how much our monthly installment is made up of. You can also see, when the video catches up with me, you can see the period start date and the period end date as well. So the system calculates that for you, and the amounts, etc. Great. And you can also see this next period forecast. So it's telling you what the system's going to generate when it renews. So we've got the period start date, that's going to be the 20th of April, so that's next year. And that's the membership, which is just the current membership renewed, basically. That's all that's going to happen. But on this screen, I can add a membership. So if I want to add this to the person's membership, that'd be fine. And let's say they want to buy an add-on. So maybe they phoned up and they said, right, I want to have the magazine as well. You can select that add-on, and then you've got the start date and the end date. You can adjust the start date and the end date if you want to. So let's say you want this to start at the beginning of the month or the beginning of next month, you can do. And then you can save it. And when you save it, what it will do is it will ask you, actually, how much do you want to charge for the first month? So if you imagine somebody says, oh, okay, I want this to start on the 16th, you kind of need to work out, okay, well, they're going to have 15 days this month. We need to prorate that. The system will automatically prorate it, but you can also prorate it. So you can adjust that if you want to do a manual calculation. So we'll leave it automated for the time being. And I think somebody asked there, I don't have it in the demo, but somebody asked there about adding donations. So if you see this add other amount, so you don't have to add a membership, you can add another amount, and then you're just adding a line item, donation, put that in, put the financial type in, etc., so that you can just add an optional donation or a joining fee or whatever it may be. So we've got total, and you can see the total's updated there now because we have an additional line. And if we go and take a look at those contributions now, if we refresh the page, and then what we'll see is that on the contributions, they've all been updated. So it's iterated through all the appropriate contributions and updated, and we've now got those 2 lines on there as well. And we'll see that comes out then in your invoice. If we get to that. So I'm just going to print invoice. And that's all come through. So that's kind of, you know, the basics of kind of membership extras, and it brings this this functionality to have installments and to manage installments and do a lot more complicated kind of membership scenarios there. So some of the other things that I showed before, if I can go through, let's that. Is around the, I think I'm going to be logged out here. In arrears status rules. So how does that work? So what we can do here is we can go in and set a membership status. We'd say in arrears. And we could say the start event is membership is in arrears, and it'll be available here. So what that basically means is that as soon as there's an invoice which is overdue, it's unpaid and it's in the past, then this membership status will be enacted. And you might say, well, actually, we'll give them 30 days before we kind of actually consider an invoice to be overdue. You can then set up a number of these. So you could say this is in arrears 30 days. And then have another one which is 60 days and 90 days, and then decide basically whether or not that's a current membership or not, and to automatically expire the member after sending them a series of emails to let them know that actually they're in arrears and getting more in arrears, as it were. So that's cool. And the automated upgrade rules. So here I've got an example rule, which is upgrade people from silver to gold. So maybe you can only hold the silver membership for 1 year. The label, the from membership, so you say this is the membership that you're going from, the to membership, the periods that you have to have held the from membership for. So you can only hold that membership for 1 year, and you can decide whether it's member since or member start. Different people have different usage of those fields. And then you can set up a filter group. So any smart group that you want, you can limit the system to only run this rule for them. So you could kind of you could really tailor it to kind of say, okay, well, it's the people who are students can only hold student membership for 2 years, but only the people who are from, you know, a particular jurisdiction or something like that, and maybe exclude some others. Great. I think that was all of the things that I wanted to show in terms of membership extras. How do I get it? So you can find it in the CompuCorp extensions directory. So I think a few people have posted a few links in the chat already, but we'll share that around. There's a companion direct debit module as well, which Maddie will be showing shortly. So those two are kind of designed to work together. Unfortunately, they do require manual installation, which means that you can't download them automatically. So in Civvy, if you go to extensions and click automated, you won't find them in that list. Something we're working on. There's still a bit of work to do in order to do that. Version 5, which has this, a couple of the features that I've shown, is expected in the next couple of weeks, hopefully in late May. So maybe you can download it, have a play around with it and see that. There's a couple of companion Drupal modules as well. So if you use CiviCRM with Drupal, that give you some extra functionality for web forms, for the sign up forms, and we'll show what you can kind of do with the sign up forms in a few moments as well. You know, I'd be not complete without saying, well, if you don't want to do all of that, if you want to get in touch, we also have something which is called CiviPlus, which is a SaaS version of CiviCRM that makes it very easy to sign up, and it will include all of this membership functionality as well. So if you get in touch at hello@compucourt.co.uk, then we can kind of get you started with that. And we'll be releasing a lot more details about CiviPlus in the not too distant future as well. Cool. Great. So I think I'm going to hand back to Maddie just on time to talk about direct debits.
Okay. I'll share my screen again. So can everyone see a CiviCRM home screen? Perfect. So yeah, this is kind of part 2 of some of the direct debit functionality that Jamie mentioned in his talk. So as he mentioned, we've created this direct debit extensions, which allows you to collect the direct debit mandate through the sign up form when you're creating the membership. And then there's further functionality which allows you to run direct debit batches, to run the new instruction batch and the payment, different various payment batches. So I'll talk you through how the batching process works. And we've created a small demo to run us through it. So the 2 batches we'll be looking at today, so both of them live under this kind of contributions direct debit menu. And you can see we have the create new instruction batch and the create payment collection batch. So they both work very similarly, but we'll run through both of them to see exactly what happens in the background and how the system processes all of these things. So if we click on create new debit instruction batch, this is the screen that allows you to select all your new members who need to be set up to be able to pay by direct debit. So on this first screen, you have the option to give the batch a name. It gives you the batch type, and then you can select an originator number. So in some organizations, you may only have one, but in other organizations, you may have more than one originator number corresponding to different kind of sub-organizations or something like that. So the forms that we set up and this particular process allow you to run those kind of side by side. So here we'll just select our example originator number and go to the next screen. So on here, you see kind of this split screen view. On the bottom, you have all of the available instructions that you can select to add to the batch that you want to run. So you don't have to select all of them. The ones that are appearing here are all the kind of active instructions that have the transaction code of 0N. So in this, and that are active, as I mentioned. And so in this example, we'll select all of them and assign them to the batch. So once you've selected them, it moves them out from that kind of bottom list and brings them up to your draft, kind of the equivalent of your draft batch. Once you're happy with your draft, this is when you can save it and export it into an Excel file. And this is the file you would use to import to PTX or whatever other system you're using to run your direct debit. At this stage, the batch is still open. So you've exported it to manipulate the data outside of the system, but in Civi, it's still considered open. So if you have a look at this manage direct debit batches, this is kind of the summary screen where you can see all the previous batches, all the open ones. And you can see that the one that we've just created, the new instruction batch 3, has a status of open because you can still make changes to it if you need to. So if anything, for some reason, one of the new instructions failed or something like that, you need to make a change to it, you can go back to that direct debit batch, change it up, and then once you're happy with it, and only when you're happy with it, would you go through these next steps that I'm going to show. So once you're happy with it, this is kind of submitting the batch is the step where you close it and say, right, I'm now happy, this is a closed batch. Once you do that, all the instruction codes are going to change from 0N to 01, so you won't be able to add those into a future new instruction batch, obviously. And that batch, the status of that batch will change from open to submitted. And note, this is not reversible. That will just, the change will be permanent in the system. So we'll go ahead and do that. And then here, this will take it. So you've got the screen telling you that all the instructions are being processed. And that screen also allows you to, if you're running, obviously in this example, we're only running two different instructions, but in some cases you might have thousands of new members that you need to sign up for direct debit, every month. So that allows you to kind of manage bigger volumes of payments or new mandates. So on this screen, we're back on the new direct debit instruction batch 3. So you can see the status has now changed to submitted, and the 2 different mandates that we'd included have changed from 0N to 01. So that's the new instruction batch process at a glance. And now we'll do the same thing for the new payment, direct debit payment batches. So once you're ready to collect the payments, you would again give the batch a name, select the originator number, and again it brings you to a very similar screen as before. So down here you can see all the payments that are available. You've got all the amount, the transaction code, etc. And one extra field we have here is a search criteria. So again, here you might not want to include all the payments in this particular batch. So this search criteria allows you to search by date and a lot of other criteria. So in this example, again, as there's only 2 of them, we'll just select them both and assign them to the batch. The same thing happens, they move up to your draft batch. You save and export that, import it into your processor, check that the data is correct. If you need to make any changes at this point, you still can because the batch is open. But once you're happy that the batch is kind of finalized and complete and those payments are kind of being processed, then you'd come back to this managed direct debit batches screen, and again the system will tell you what will happen in the background in CiviCRM when you process and submit this batch. So in this case, all the mandate codes will change from 01 to 17, but something else will happen, and it's that all the payments that were created as pending until this process occurred. So all the payments included in this batch, the status of those will change from pending to completed, which avoids the membership admin having to go through and manually update all the payments, once they've been processed. So that will happen in the background, and the status of this batch will be updated to submitted, like in the previous case. So we'll just process that. And then, again, we have the same screen showing you that the data is being processed. And if we look here, actually you can't see the status of the contribution, but if you were to go to John Redmond's account, you'd see that that contribution is now completed. And you can see that the status is submitted and the transaction code has changed. And I think that's it for this short demo. This also supports, you can also cancel a batch or cancelling payments, but we didn't demonstrate it here, but that would be supported through this extension as well. I don't know if you want to add anything, Jamie.
So we were just going to show how you put this all together then with an online sign-up form. So again, bit Blue Peter here with a sign-up form we made earlier. So this is the British Association of Social Workers. So just an example of their sign-up form. The reason I show this one is because I think it's one of the longest sign-up forms I've ever seen. So it's really comprehensive, and actually it does some really cool stuff. There's lots of conditions on the form, asking you various questions and things like that. You can add in, you'll see here the postcode. It's got postcode lookup as well. So you can kind of, put in your postcode and it will find the address and things like that. But what the system also does is it will try and work out what the right membership type is for you. So you give it a bunch of details, and then what it does is based on, some, I would like to say machine learning and AI, but it's actually just some conditions, works out what is the correct membership type that you should have. So if I do continue to membership information, it's going to automatically calculate that. So it's worked out, it's qualified over 5 years, because I said that I qualified over 5 years ago, and it's worked out how much it would be by direct debit, and how it's done this calculation. And so it's kind of showing me a little bit of text there. Then I can opt in to kind of any extras that I want to. So I've said this is the main membership and these are those add-ons, and so I can put those in the form. People can purchase like Independent Plus and all of these things, which are wonderful. Fill in all these other fields, give my diversity information, go through terms and conditions, obviously tick all of those boxes, and then say how I'm going to pay: monthly, annual, credit card, continue to the payment, and the system's going to calculate this and allow me to put in my direct debit details. And obviously we'd have the direct debit guarantee at the bottom there as well. Cool. So that's kind of just an example of kind of putting it all together. Great. So yeah, we're just about on time and so on. I'm just going to take a look here. I think we've got a last couple of minutes, see if there's any other questions that we can answer for people. So we've got and maybe a few shout outs to people all around the world as well. Looking through, were there any questions that didn't get answered? New message.
Thank you for the session. It's been very helpful, actually.
No problem.
I was wondering if there is a module around the import function and being able to set up the backend. I get the impression that is there a way to customize the import function for contributions on Civvy? Because I'm working with that at the moment. I'm finding out the way that I want to import the data onto the database. It's really rigid at the moment. I don't know if that's because of how it's been set up or because of a quirk on Civvy. Also, I'm quite new to Civvy myself as well. So
there's an extension which is called the Api CSV Importer. And this gives you a lot more flexibility. So you can import to any of the APIs in CiviCRM. And this means that you can completely control, kind of what you're putting in. In effect, it's kind of like get more access to the data. And shout out to Omar in the CompuCourt team, who maybe, Omar, you can tell me, will I find it in here? This is V5 Omar, which is the membership.
It wasn't.
A membership.
I think it has to be installed on. It's an extension that has to be installed on the site, so it might not be.
Might not be there. Okay, I was going to say
This is where you would find it.
Yeah, so you would find in here one of the options, which is our more comprehensive membership, which will cover all of the different entities across membership. So that's once you've got membership extras, and if it's a separate extension, I thought it was in membership extras, it'll give you this extra comprehensive importer, which will cover payment plans, recurring contributions, memberships, membership lines. You can get all of that in with one spreadsheet.
No worries. Thank you very much for that. Yes, it's been really, really helpful. And if there's any modules on how to do this, very grateful to join.
Fantastic. So I think that's all we have time for today. So a big thank you to everybody for joining. We'll be sending out a feedback form. Really grateful for any feedback that you could give in order to, to make it better. Trying to give some opportunities as well. If anybody who has a case study of how they're using Civvy and would like to talk for a few minutes about that, it's always great hearing about how people are actually using Civvy in the wild. And if you'd like any more information about anything we discussed today, then pop us an email. It's hello@compucourt.co.uk or jamie@compucourt.co.uk. Find out a bit more about CiviPlus as well. Otherwise, we'll be planning our next event to cover, I think we're targeting events and comms. So in CiviCRM, and so that will be in the next few months. The recording will be up on Facebook in not too long on our Facebook account. And if you missed it, there was also there was a recording of the session that we did last year on cases. So feel free to kind of take a look at that. And there's lots of cool stuff going on around case management as well in CiviCRM. Have a great afternoon, evening, rest of the day, morning, wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.